Glad you could join us today for the story of Old Dan Buster's Buried Gold. And before I get into the story, I want to remind you or invite you to visit our websites, www.treasurehuntingonline.com and www.losttreasurestories.com. And when you get in there, either site, watch for a little pop-up box that'll invite you to join the Lost Treasure Tales Club, free club. If you enjoy treasure hunting stories and lost treasure, we have hundreds of stories just like the one you're about to hear. And if you join the Lost Treasure Tales Club, we'll email you a new story about once a week. Our stories don't come from treasure books or treasure magazines. It comes from over 30 years of personal research of historical documents. So the stories that you find in our websites, it's probably the first time anybody's heard about them in years and years and years. So it's really the only place you can get them. They're fresh stories. And today's story, we have hundreds of stories from just about every state in the country. Today's story happens to come from Calaveras County, California. Of course, that's the county of the Mark Twain's celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County. But we're not going to be talking about Mark Twain's famous old jumping frog. We're going to be talking about Old Dan Buster's Buried Gold. And this is a two-part video. I'm going to take a drink of my iced tea here. Two-part video. And this document that I'm reading from, I'm going to read notes from this so I don't leave anything out of the story for you. It comes from 1971. So this document, you know, is almost 40 years old. And it's the last time that we know of that this story has ever been told. The document itself that I'm reading the notes off of is from San Andreas, California. And it says, you know, people have been looking for Dan Buster's buried gold for over 108 years. And, you know, that area of the California Mother Lode is green rolling hills, steep gulches, and it stretches anywhere from Fourth Crossing to Sheep Ranch to Murphy's. They're all tiny California Mother Lode hamlets. And that whole area has been punched full of holes by men and women and even children who have been looking for Dan Buster's lost buried gold for over 108 years. Buster was a runaway slave. He came to California as a 49er, and he struck it rich. And he actually paid a white attorney to buy his mother and father's freedom from slavery. But the white attorney stole Dan's money. But Buster was uncanny. He struck it rich time and time again. So he had an awful good nose to find the gold out there in the Mother Lode country. And unfortunately, his elderly parents died before he could buy their freedom. So that's a sad part of the story. The attorney stole his money and then his parents died. But here's I have a first-hand account of someone that knew Dan Buster, talked with him, and it's a family that still lives on the ground old Dan Buster used to live in. And it says, one day Buster led a string of burros down a steep hill leading into Camp San Antone. Camp San Antone was a mining camp that Buster made his fortune in and lived in and worked in. Antone is A-N-T-O-N-E for people that want to do a little more research. Camp San Antone. And the man that knew Dan Buster, the family that may still live on that ground, the old ghost town of the mining camp of San Antone, said strapped to Buster's animals' backs were sacks stuffed with gold. And Ray Cuneo, 61 years old, said, my granddad weighed Dan Buster's gold that day, and all that's left today of the ghost town of San Antone of the 1850s and 60s is located on the Cuneo's 300-acre Calaveras County ranch. Now remember, I'm reading from 1971. The Cuneo family, someone in the family may still own that ground. And by the way, Cuneo, for the people that want to do more research, is spelled C-U-N-E-O. C-U-N-E-O. This was Ray Cuneo talking in 1971 He was 61 years old talking about his granddad that knew Dan Buster. Now, Granddad Cuneo stated that that old black miner had $40,000 in gold in those pouches. And he had another $10,000 in gold coins. $50,000 in the 1860s gold prices. Today, at prices of today's gold prices, that'd be in the neighborhood of $180,000. Now that's all the money Dan Buster had. But remember, Dan Buster struck it rich time and time again, so there's a very, very good chance that he had much, much more than that. But even if that's all he had and you could find it, that would be, you know, like I say, in the neighborhood of $180,000 at today's gold prices. So you'd have plenty of money to take the family out to dinner and buy the new detector. You might even have enough left over to take the family out to the movies. Price of movies, you know, you might have enough left over, but if you do find it, I'd appreciate if you would invite me to go along with the family to the movies. But Miss Granddad Cuneo also said, talking about Dan Buster, he lived his last years alone in a cabin right up there on that level spot on the hill where my sheep shed stands. Try to say sheep shed 10 times real fast. So now, if you do a little research, you can, you know, find out that the Cuneo family still owns that ground. You know, go to the historical land records office, look at old maps. You'll find out who owns that ground. Of course, the miners pulled out when the gold played out, and the Cuneo family, Granddad Cuneo, homesteaded the ground that Camp San Antone used to be on. And that's going to conclude video 1, part 1 here of old Dan Buster's gold. In part 2, when we come back for part 2, you're going to actually get to hear some words from Dan Buster himself and from other people that knew him to get some more background on where he may have buried his gold. So I hope you enjoyed part 1, but don't miss part 2 because you're going to get to hear from old Dan himself. Have a great day.